Sandra Bullock isn't merely a celebrity. She's a vivid example of ascending, descending, and ascending once more. Viewers recall the bold bravery of Annie Porter battling for survival on that runaway bus. They remember the unwavering affection of Lee and Tui, welcoming a young man in distress. Beyond performing, she's a committed parent, a filmmaker who crafted her path, and a lady whose fortitude sustained her amid deceptions, fearful evenings, and heartbreaks that might shatter anyone. Her grin once illuminated premieres globally. Her aura infused films with kindness and elegance. Her identity evolved into an emblem of genuineness and endurance. Sandra Bullock transcends artistry. She's an icon of perseverance, of unyielding honor, of a spark tempered by tempests. For over 30 years, she's navigated peaks and valleys, transforming personal anguish into timeless masterpieces. Now, we delve into that fiery narrative of existence to confront the most crushing tempest at 61 years old. Before starting, remember to tap like as homage to this remarkable icon. It's sorrowful to acknowledge that the initial fractures in her existence stemmed not from hardship or peril, but from the profound sorrow of a youngster who never sensed inclusion, a solitude that lingered even as life progressed around her. On July 26, 1964, in Arlington, Virginia, Sandra Annette Bullock arrived, child of Helga Meyer, a German vocalist whose tones could resonate in majestic continental venues, and John Bullock, a U.S. singing instructor and military man who fulfilled his duties with rigor and honor. From the outset, her existence was defined not by playful freedom, but by the burden of demands. Behind stages in Europe, enveloped in outfits and melodies, adhering to rigid practice timetables while peers frolicked outdoors. At 5, she stood under spotlights, her tender vocals compelled to harmonize in youth ensembles, rendering Mozart and Bizet. By 10, she'd resided in numerous locales across Germany and Austria than most U.S. peers would encounter, each relocation severing ties with companions, revealing the harsh reality of lacking anchors. No spot to merely exist as a kid. In 1976, upon repatriation to America, the concealed pain intensified. Peers derided her odd European attire. Her pronunciation lingered on each syllable, inviting mockery. Corridors resounded with chuckles, not alongside her, but directed at her. What ought to have been the delight of fitting in morphed into prolonged, quiet degradation, etching profound marks of seclusion. She later pondered that lingering solo on the periphery instructed her to notice other overlooked individuals, to sense unseen suffering, and that compassion became the hidden guide of her existence and creations. German stayed the tongue of solace, English the dialect of endurance. Dual personas pulling her apart internally, never wholly one or the other. Her world resembled a divided display. Germany on one half, America on the other, and centrally, a youthful girl muted by melancholy, ensnared in both shadows. However, those injuries didn't demolish her. They solidified into power. Isolation molded into understanding. Unsteadiness reformed into flexibility. Dismissal turned into sincerity, the attribute Hollywood couldn't fabricate but always identified when it radiated on film. The small child who once silenced her tone to conceal her distinction would eventually captivate the globe with it. And the outcast ridiculed for exclusion would mature into a lady who made countless feel acknowledged, constructing a link from edges to core with solely bravery, skill, and poise. Sandra Bullock didn't experience destitution in youth. Her early years were influenced by tunes, order, and the organized realm of two guardians offering steadiness. But in 1986, departing East Carolina University mere credits from a theater qualification, all altered. She might have remained, completed studies, opted for security. Yet Sandra yearned for New York. The platform, the aspiration, the improbable opportunity. That choice bore a poignant cost. The metropolis was ruthless to a young lady lacking renowned lineage, influential ties, or backup. The offspring of a singing mentor and opera performer vanished instantly. Nameless, penniless, striving to exist in a harsh environment. She toiled evenings as a server, bartender, and garment attendant, staggering back with sore soles and vacant wallets, slumping into a minuscule dwelling sans warmth during harsh winters. Meals frequently consisted of mere quick pasta and tart brew, her frame fueled by fatigue and pure determination. It wasn't that relatives couldn't assist, she declined reliance. She aimed to demonstrate self-sufficiency in the brutal industry of entertainment. I gained more from denials than approvals, she later reminisced, a revelation from evenings practicing in obscurity, murmuring dialogues to herself as the urban area slumbered. The late 1980s granted mere glimpses of acknowledgement. Movies such as Hangman, A Fool and His Money, and Who Shot Patacango appeared and vanished unnoticed. No attention, no concern. Promotions withered. Footage gathered particles, but Sandra bore them as wounds, each a cue of dream fragility. Still, she persisted. Every refusal fueled her. Every hush honed her determination. Those setbacks, she confessed, instilled craving, a pang so intense it sustained her when others faltered. Then 1993 brought Demolition Man. Not the lead, but sharing scenes with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes positioned her visibly. A flicker ignited, and merely a year on, a bolt struck. Speed in 1994 wasn't crafted for her. Annie Porter's part was intended for Halle Berry, even considered by top luminaries. Sandra wasn't listed, but she entered the tryout with a collapsible seat and a disposable dish as wheel. Unpolished, exposed authentically. The spark with Keanu Reeves was volatile, irrefutable. It crackled. Executives couldn't ignore. When Speed exploded commercially, amassing $350 million globally on limited funds, it revolutionized her existence instantly. The identical lady who once cleaned counters and subsisted on pasta became Hollywood's fresh darling. And in 1995's While You Were Sleeping, she triumphed in humor with identical finesse, as in Thrills. From a server with weary palms in New York to national favorite in under 10 years, Sandra Bullock didn't merely endure. She converted dismissal into tenacity, anonymity into fame, and self-imposed struggles into the blaze that shaped a remarkable profession. Her path affirms that success isn't about origins, but endurance for convictions. From pasta to prosperity, from invisibility to adored icon, Sandra Bullock didn't arrive in Hollywood. She conquered it. But ensuing wasn't solely celebrity, it was authority. As the Globe dubbed her national darling, Sandra discreetly established Fortis Films, asserting she wouldn't be passive in her trajectory. With a daring agreement secured, she molded narratives she valued. Hope Floats, Miss Congeniality, 2 Weeks Notice, projects that packed venues and bore her imprint as creator and lead. She extended reach to TV, overseeing the enduring comedy George Lopez. Evidence her insight spanned cinema to households nationwide. But entertainment tests every accolade, and Sandra endured scrutiny publicly. Revisiting for Speed 2, Cruise Control, sans Keanu Reeves, she witnessed reviewers dismantle it, crowds depart. Costs ballooned, plots stumbled, and Sandra, film's visage, sank alongside. She later jested, "Only 5 folks enjoyed that flick." But beneath levity hid embarrassment's bite, as she consented solely for Hope Float's opportunity, a tale she cherished deeply. That defined Sandra, hazarding flop, even scorn, for meaningful stories. And perseverance compensated. Following ascents, descents, reascents, she grasped the Oscar for The Blind Side. She portrayed Lee and Tui with intense empathy, and globally, it was acknowledged. The instant should have been sheer victory, profession's pinnacle, but arrived laced with intimate sorrow. Beneath the beam, Sandra's union with Jesse James crumbled under treachery's load. 10 days divided utmost vocational accolade from deepest personal ruin. Yet amid turmoil, she safeguarded her fresh adoptee, Lewis, from turmoil with identical vigor that bore her through rejections. The award didn't solely commend a portrayal. It lauded a lady who denied anguish's dominance. Then gravity arrived, rendering spectators awestruck and analysts mute. Solo on-screen mostly, Sandra bore a cosmos's burden, and viewers granted over $700 million in returns. The project didn't merely shatter marks, it demolished barriers. With one of history's most profitable packs, Sandra demonstrated the once derided outsider had become adept bargainer, a lady who could mold the framework to her desire. And she persisted in growth. As digital platforms transformed entertainment, Sandra didn't withdraw. She dominated. Bird Box sparked worldwide frenzy, spawning cultural frenzy as multitudes viewed her safeguard offspring in a sightless realm. The Unforgivable unveiled a grimmer, unfiltered facet, and The Lost City proved she could still dominate earnings decades post-Speed. Each career stage held identical essence: tenacity born of adversity, bold selections, and resolute refusal of limits. Her ascent wasn't merely about acclaim. It was about reclaimed control, earned respect, and intact belief. This was the identical young lady who once toiled nights, extended pasta and brew into suppers, shivered in unheated New York quarters, all pursuing ambition. And that vulnerable server subsisting on scraps would eventually confront producers and set terms. $20 million salaries, profit portions valued at dozens more, and property holdings spanning nations. Sandra Bullock's voyage isn't mere professional curve. It's a vibrant hymn, evidence that victory isn't granted in ease, but forged in famished nights, denials, and tireless effort. From pasta to wealth, from obscurity to premier bankable talent, her tale affirms resilience's blaze can transform harshest cold into triumphant coronet. But entertainment's most radiant beams cast deepest gloom, and Sandra soon discovered how swiftly victory morphs to calamity. 5 years prior, in July 2005, she exchanged vows with Jesse James in a radiant Santa Barbara rite, convinced she'd discovered life's absent element. For years, they merged realms. Her fame, his construction and paternity, and Sandra invested fully in familial vision. Jointly, they initiated adoption, readying to embrace a youngster into their hopeful abode. By 2010's dawn, all appeared harmonious. Affection, kin, vocation. It was meant as the era mending every scar. On March 7, 2010, Sandra Bullock, after years ascending from frozen New York pasta meals to cinematic success, stood under Academy lights. In grasp was the gilded trophy for The Blind Side, a character embodying a lady granting a child refuge. Cheers roared. Flashes erupted. Globally, she was exalted as evidence, compassion, and valor defined excellence. Briefly, she wasn't merely national darling. She was its pulse. But the illusion fractured in 10 days. Headlines shifting from victory to ruthless, unveiling spouses' disloyalty that sundered their bond. Sandra didn't vocalize. Tabloids broadcasted intimate deceit across covers, thrusting her private torment into public scrutiny. What should have been life's most secure phase became communal ordeal. The trophy, once joyful emblem, now throbbed as harsh sorrow cue. Behind elegant attire and rehearsed grin stood not entertainment's prized figure, but a stunned lady. Not by fiction, but life's vicious turns. Yet in that gale, a concealed truth existed unknown globally. Weeks prior, January 2010, Sandra entered her residence cradling a 3-month New Orleans infant. She christened him Lewis. In spirit, he was for an intact household. Dual guardians, singular dwelling, stable future. She concealed his minuscule verdant socks in her Oscar purse. a covert talisman of emerging existence. She envisioned revealing him when steady. But that vision shattered preformation. Instead of maternal delight beside spouse, she inked dissolution documents while cradling babe. The paradox was savage. The lady acclaimed for depicting a maternal savior became solo parent as her abode disintegrated. In Midnight Nursings, with flashes outside barriers, Sandra confronted harshest reality. The kin she yearned for her son fragmented pre-start. It's agonizing to envision her burden. Photographers like predators at entrances. Deceit blared in titles. Acclaim echoes as quiet enveloped. Yet she denied anguish with resentment. No outbursts, no staged vengeance, merely a lady selecting quiet, honor, and offspring. How to handle mourning without harming your child. She pondered later. Not theory, endurance. In Lullaby Whispers, she wove love's shield around Lewis, denying him her despair's taste, instilling love outvoices loss. Therein her supreme win. Not trophy, not premiere, not titles, but subtle conquest of a parent transforming ruin into dedication. Globe saw outrage. Sandra experienced renewal. Entertainment honored portrayal. Existence honored maternity. Her authentic coronet isn't gilded shelf ornament, but steadfast poise of a lady bearing glory and sorrow in 10 days, selecting affection over deceit as next chapter's scribe. And if greater calamity than her sorrow existed, it was a man forfeiting a lady whose poise surpassed precious metals. It appeared Sandra Bullock had weathered life's fiercest gales. She outlasted public deceit, reconstructed as solo parent, channeled vigor into son's protection from torment. But destiny persisted in trials. For terrors often arrive not amid flashes or legal murmurs, but nocturnal quiet when presumed secure. June 8, 2014. Sandra returned to LA abode, weary from extended day. Lewis with caretaker overnight. Dwelling hushed, promising tranquility. Then 1 a.m., hush splintered. Noise faint, nearing. She assumed exercise area. It shifted. Breath constricted. Intruder within. Solo, she secured chamber entrance, retreated to wardrobe, dialed emergency trembling. Call whisper quivered with realization safety vanished. Seconds eternal. Beyond barrier, not mere trespasser. Stark fact barriers fail against dread's infiltration. Culprit apprehended. Joshua Corbett, stranger stalking days, depositing messages, observing concealed. Satchel held her image cuttings, an obsessive missive. He possessed arms. Carried none then. But genuine armament was instilled fear. Marks invisible, embedded in nerves. Anxiety ambushed randomly. Tears from window gazes. She confessed unraveling, frame reliving endlessly. Tormenting most wasn't personal dread, but Lewis potentially absorbing. Inheriting quakes not genetic, but mute. Thus, she pursued EMDR treatment. Fragment by fragment, reclaiming serenity not solely for self, but boy meriting unclouded growth. Sandra Bullock outlasted entertainment gales. Now mental tempests. Her battle held truth haunting beyond any character. Brightest icons vulnerable to obscurity, but bravest combat recovery. Post-dissolution years, Sandra Bullock bore herself honorably, nurturing Lewis adopted 2010, guarding from celebrity turmoil, granting longed for security. Yet amid purest affection, emptiness persisted, void only genuine partnership filled. Altered 2015 when photographer Brian Randall entered for Lewis's fifth celebration capture. Sandra, Globe's adored darling, encountered one seeing not celebrity, Oscar victor, or revenue monarch. He perceived her essence. What commenced professionally deepened unexpectedly, connection innate as if predestined. As grew, Sandra enlarged heart anew, Brian alongside. Later 2015, she embraced Layla, resilient foster girl enduring undue trials. Brian, ex-model now lensman, brought paternal insight. Own daughter taught tolerance, softness, loves Judy's comprehension. Soon transcended partnership, became paternal to Louis and Layla, reliable warmth matching her commitment. To kids, not mere mom's associate, but joyful guardian rendering routine instants sparkle with wit and care. Though unmarried, their pledge profound. Observers noted unprecedented calm in her, serenity easing keenest traits. Post-betrayal, isolation, doubts love forsaken, Sandra discovered refuge. Their abode vibrated with unstaged bliss. School transports laughter-filled, nocturnal kitchen chats post-bedtime, candles glowing familial warmth. To lady decades under harsh illumination, this normalcy extraordinary. The vision once feared unattainable, intact, affectionate, authentic kin. It's nearly intolerable how fate assaults when believing sanctuary secured. In 2020, Sandra Bullock, post-solitude, deceit, reconstruction, suffered strike no lens softened. Brian Randall, transforming residence to haven, kids pillar, diagnosed ALS, ruthless ailment eroding vigor gradually, spirit enduring as frame faltered. They vowed quiet. Didn't desire children's happiness tainted by timer, Sandra shared intimately. Not concealment from disgrace, but affection. Louis and Layla merited balloon festivities, not decline whispers. Thus Sandra withdrew worldly. No galas, no carpets. Stage became cuisine preparing favored dishes. Bedside murmuring solace wee hours. Abode morphed care haven. Caregivers integrating family flow. Globe glimpsed scant. Rumors, fleeting views. Privately, Sandra enacted toughest character. Not adored actress, but guardian denying loved one's solo battle, mastering devices, soothing sleepless eves, feeding patiently devotion born. Maintained home warm, tunes he cherished, laughter sustained so Louis and Layla recalled dad for affection enveloping till end, not malady. She grasped shards, smile curve at Louis's quip, eyes tender at Layla's sketch, labored thanks meaning all. Each instant golden specks, she recalled, words embodying she bore him darkest with love defiant against chronology. Yet time prevailed. August 5th, 2023, inconceivable cruelty. Brian Randall, 57, youthful, essential, departed post 3 years ALS erosion, stripping motion, voice, till eyes sole communicator. Sandra held hand. Children near as quiet crushed inescapably. No lenses, no lines, no cheers. Mere grief's jagged echo confined. Man infusing laughter gone. Vast void devouring atmosphere. For Sandra, indescribable ruin. Finally securing presumed denied love. Man perceiving Sandra worth treasuring. Compelled witnessing evaporate. Sacrifices, vigils, bedside vows defied time. Still lost. For Louis and Layla, once offering sketches, lap-climbing tales, wound unnameable yet eternal. Quartet fractured by invincible thief. Laughter echoing abode now absence resonant. Walls evoked him. Stillness cruel reminder fate's chill extinguishes brightest. For Sandra, enduring deceit, shame, industry storms, this sorrow profounder, unfiltered, merciless. Titles uncapturable, trophy uncomforting, celebrity unshielding. Not mere departure, sanctuary's obliteration. Yet in intolerable quiet, she ascended, bearing love's memory and complete affection's evidence. Even heartbreak scripted end, but destiny persisted. 9 days post Brian's exit, grief raw, another gale surged. Not domestic, but global. The Blind Side, Oscar-granting, compassion-inspiring, embroiled controversy. Michael O'Hare, Story's muse, sued Tui Kin alleging deceit, exploitation. Sandra unlinked legally, yet name entangled, bound to once triumphant film. Ensued unfair savagery. Social platforms demanded not sympathy, but Oscar return, as if culpable for distant events. Envisioned brutality. Mourning 8-year partner, ambushed by integrity-questioning murmurs. Role-peaking recognition, weaponized wounding when knelt. Dual strike, intimate loss, public cruelty collided mercilessly. Might fracture others.